Do you wanna start with the welcomes or the whatevers, or should I?
Do you have something planned?
I have one thing planned, but it's not. It doesn't entirely mean that I should be the one starting the conversation. So
Um, okay.
here,
Well,
let's start. Let's start with this. Cheers.
cheers.
Take it. All right, bring us in, buddy.
Actually, you know what?
We
No,
can't do it. We can't do it. I'm too scared.
I'm too scared. Welcome
Welcome.
to this podcast, which is
Oh yeah,
yet to be named.
this podcast, which is yet to be. I had a couple of ideas for the name actually.
Okay.
So our 3 or 4 viewers can maybe vote on the name. Chime in if you have any, but I was thinking oh man, this pandemic podcast that I found is super great. Or dear God, why do we need more content? Or
It's just another podcast.
yeah, a 2-person echo chamber.
I think that's the best one yet so far,
Oh yeah?
if I'm being honest.
Oh wow.
2-person echo chamber.
We'll have to see. We'll have to wait for the viewers for input though. But since I don't plan on listening to this ever because of the fear of how bad it'll be, and I know that you'll be at least listening to edit it, you're the
Right.
only vote that counts. Out of the 2 listeners, we're pretty narrowed down.
I was actually listening to a podcast, and apparently it is a 2-person podcast, and obviously in the professional level, they have engineers and people that do all the stuff.
We do want to make this distinction, right? At a professional level.
Yes, at a very
Okay.
professional level where they have
Okay.
people who literally the talent has to do is show up and talk into a microphone. They have
Yes.
that both people were like, oh yeah, we listen to the podcast as we're doing dishes and laundries, before it's released. They listen to the podcast before it's released to the public. And I'm like, you would want to listen to it again if you didn't have the ability to edit?
Yeah.
That to me is dedication. And
Yeah.
you already drew the line in the sand that you weren't going to do the editing. So
I also just want to bring up another point of difference between the professional world of podcasting and this is you mentioned the word talent.
We have loads of it.
I don't know. I think you're very talented at very specific things.
You as well.
Oh, thanks. But since we're both each other's agent and manager, us complimenting each other is another echo chamber.
It comes full circle.
Yeah.
As we're here full circle now.
Full circle. So tell the people a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Well, my name is Mitchell Schäflein. You can call me Mitch. If you call me Mitchell, you are either my mother, my sister, and my other sister, and that's about it. I am.
That was a weird way of phrasing that you have 2 sisters.
It was a weird phrasing it. It just kind of came out, and I let it happen.
I knew you had 2 sisters, but I still had to take a second to count in my head. How many did he say?
Well, I didn't want. You know what it was? Is I think I realized that I was saying my one sister, and then was oh yeah, I have a second one, and who's
You forgot too. So
I almost forgot too.
Okay,
So
that makes more sense. Anyways,
yes,
go on.
I'm 26. I don't know what else is there to say. I live in Chicago. I'm a suburbanite. I like most things, and I dislike a lot of other things.
You like most things? Make a list for me.
It's going to have one thing, and it's going to say most things.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
What about
I think
you?
that's good. I think that's a good start. They'll find out more about us as
Exactly.
go.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my God. Here's the thing about recording on any Apple device ever. That's a real issue. Is Siri just started trying to talk to me again. And we'll have to play it back to see what words sounded a little bit like Heysiri. Wow, it happened again. She spelled it out. She figured it out. I thought that if I didn't say the thing,
right.
I'm afraid to say it right now, that she wouldn't answer me. But it's in my ears and I heard her. So we need to maybe figure this out, but hopefully that doesn't happen again. I might have to turn her off. I completely lost my train of thought then.
I believe you were introducing yourself.
Oh yeah, hi. Hey guys. Hey, my name is John Anton. I'm passionate about books, long walks on the beach, holding hands. Rom-coms. No, I'm an actor. I'm in Chicago area right now, but I am usually living in New York. It's been really nice during the pandemic to be able to be home, connected with my good friend Mitchell, because I'm not one of his sister or his other sister. Can't say Mitch.
Well, my theory about the whole thing is it's like my legal name is Mitchell, but I always found that I was either called Mitchell when I was like in trouble, or family members, just talking to me, either down to me or just about me, and it always made me sound like an 8-year-old. Yeah, and I'm the youngest, so it always made me sound like an 8-year-old. Right. So I ended up just dropping the "ol" and was like, I feel like you could get a beer with a guy named Mitch.
Yeah. You know what? That should be your political platform when you run. Like, get a beer with me. My name is Mitch.
Honestly, if I was to run for politics, I would just say, my name's not Mitch McConnell.
Run for politics? You would want to run for politics?
Yes.
You could just have politics, like you need a specific seat to run for. You can't just run for politics.
I'm going to run for the politics chair of Illinois.
It's a
probably
rough
uncontested.
Uncontested. The salary is nothing. You're not sworn into anywhere.
No, that's just a waste of time.
It's like playing Jeopardy by yourself in the basement. You're not winning any money.
But I'm still saying, what is this? I'm still answering it. I'm still answering. What is politics? And that's the correct answer. I'm still going to abide by the rules. Also, RIP Alex Trebek.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So I guess let's get into some of the things that I actually had planned out, unlike our name.
Right.
I actually had a couple of ideas. I wanted to play a quick word association game with you, and I want to see your answers. Let me just grab a pen. I want to write this down because
that would be what professionals do.
And listeners are going to find out real quick that most of the things that come out of Mitch Schaefline's mouth are genius, and you want to record them. So, record them on a podcast or somewhere that you could go back and listen to. So I'm just going to go to this pen and paper. It's a really quick one. It's just like not even 10 words. Let me see. Yeah, it's like 8 words. I just wanted to see what you thought about these things. Okay. First thing that pops in your head, 1 word, right? Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what these are.
Wait, yeah. That we do want to say with no idea what these are.
Apparently,
But
to preface, when saying like what topics do you have in mind for this, John goes, I have some ideas, and I said, hit me, and he goes, I'm gonna wait, which
yeah,
instantly made me have anxiety dreams about
but
this very thing. But
you have nothing to worry about. I'm gonna take real good care of you, babe.
okay, you always do, buddy.
Thanks. Yeah, there's nothing to worry about, but I do just want to get your thoughts and opinions on these things because, as a matter of recording your great thoughts and maybe some of your not great thoughts on certain topics that people will come to either love you for or they'll stop listening to this podcast for. Now it's your job to nail it. If that's pressure. All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Chicago sports. First word, go.
Pathetic.
Pathetic, okay. Soft rock.
Underrated.
Okay, all right. Christmas music before Thanksgiving.
Unforgivable.
Unforgivable, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, Lady Gaga.
Queen.
Queen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Politics.
Messy.
Messy, yeah. Snow.
Fuck.
Snow fuck. Hangovers.
Memories.
Memories. Aww. The musical movie Moulin Rouge.
Pass.
Let me just, okay, this is great stuff. Let me just tally up the answers here. Okay.
And to say pass for Moulin Rouge, I really like, I felt like that subject in one word, I legitimately had no opinion on. I really have like no opinion on Moulin Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
Both the movie musical and then when it was put on Broadway.
Sure. Okay.
I have like no opinion.
You did okay, just so you know. Okay. You got a couple wrong.
Okay, what are the wrong answers?
You got snow wrong for sure. You said snow is fuck. And that's wrong. The answer that the audience and myself were looking for was beautiful. Beautiful. So not great.
Maybe make a stipulation. The light snow that happens around Christmas time in December, I would agree with you, is quite beautiful. But
quite beautiful.
the November snow, which we got a couple of days ago in Chicago, which was unexpected. I did not know it was coming. No. That is not beautiful. And January and February snow is not beautiful.
Okay.
At all.
Here's what I'll say to that though. This was one word answers and this was a whole explanation. So all this explanation needs to be void. The audience needs to pretend like they didn't hear that, actively forget it, because your answer, which was wrong, was fuck. So I'm sorry, but you need to adhere to the rules of the game. Okay?
You're right.
All right. Good. Let me see. Soft rock is underrated. The actual answer to that is the worst.
Now, what do you define as soft rock?
The worst.
Like, I'm talking actual songs and artists.
Yeah. Okay. I would call... so, look, I'm cheating even now, too, because it's supposed to be one word, and I did the worst. But the way that I said it, if you heard me, I really made the word one. I was like the worst. So,
I think people can back you up on that.
Yeah, but you said underrated, and you're wrong. It's rated.
It's right where it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
that's fair. I'll concede that. It's right where it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, you can only go so far with some soft rock before you have to look at Creed, and before you have to really look at, I love Phil Collins, but also some of Phil Collins.
No, you're right.
Minus there's the
Tarzan
highs
soundtrack, right? Yeah.
Right. There's the highs, Phil Collins, and then there's the lows, also Phil Collins, and you really have to understand that it's just overall The worst.
Rated.
Rated. Perfectly rated. Let me see.
How many did you ask me?
How many did I what you?
How many did you ask me?
I asked you 8.
8, and so far I've got 2 wrong. So I don't know what the percentage is on that. I wasn't a mathematician.
Well, let me just real quick do the math for you because you only got 1 more wrong.
Oh,
So you got a 62. And that's
D's
really
get degrees.
impressive. Yeah. I wouldn't know.
What was the other question?
That joke is specifically to the audience. Just so you guys know what we're talking about is I didn't get a degree, so I wouldn't even know what would require a degree. It's not that like I'm so smart that I never got D's. It's that I
D for did
never
not finish.
achieved. Yeah.
You got a DNF.
Did not finish. Just the whole thing.
So what was the other one I got wrong?
Oh, the last one is the musical movie Moulin Rouge.
Oh, you're right.
The word we were looking for was revelation. And
revelation.
You answered pass, and that's wrong. Because Nicole Kidman is stunning in it. Ewan McGregor just steals your heart. And the music is just beautiful. So we're looking for revelation.
Objectively, I do enjoy both of those actors in most of the work that they've done in their career.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I'm not a huge jukebox musical guy.
Yeah.
I don't really like the whole cramming songs into a ideal just because it sounds cool. It's not really my jam. So that's why I said pass. I have no opinion. Like that's my opinion is I don't like jukebox musicals, but I think like it's well done.
Right. And I hear you. And what I would have to say, Siri did her thing again. So I hear you, but also I do have to say to the audience that this is supposed to be one-word answers. And since you had an explanation, you do have to scrub that from your memory. I'm really sorry. It's just how the game is played. So you answered pass for the movie musical Moulin Rouge. And we were looking for revelation. Right. And you weren't even in the ballpark for that. So I don't know. 62%. 63. Let's round up. You earned a round up.
I was going to say, thank you.
You're welcome.
Give me that round up. I was definitely that kid that went to teachers and professors. Can you round my score up?
Really?
Hells yeah, especially if I was at like a 79 or an 89.
Right. Like just give me that 80 or
just
90.
Just give it to me.
That makes sense.
Make it a round number.
That makes sense. And you know what? Did you ever get it?
Some yes and no, and then that means go to ratemyprofessor.com if they didn't round up.
Did you rate professors on your ability to get grades rounded up?
Only the bad ones.
Only the ones that didn't round them up, and that's what made them bad.
Yep.
Did you tell them that you were going to do that? No. Oh, okay. Well, at least it wasn't like a blackmail situation.
No. I'd rather them, squirm and figure out why they got that score.
Do you think that that's petty?
It's 100% petty, but
okay.
I am petty.
Right. Well, that's something that we really wanted to hear from you in the getting to know you part, Mitch, is that you're petty. It's okay.
If the listeners have gotten this far along, now they're as equally as knowledgeable about me as most people.
If the listeners aren't fully invested in this podcast by now, I have to tell you, this is about as good as it's going to get.
This is the peak.
I feel myself peaking right now.
We're gonna the rest of the way down is gonna be like a segment later today that I will explain later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So here's something that I was, I'm a bit of a pro at. I am single, and I was wondering if, you, and then maybe in the future, we could have like audience questions, of dating, dating in the pandemic. Like, ask me what it's like to be dating in a pandemic right now. So,
One sec.
yeah,
One
for
sec.
sure.
We'll edit this out. I stole your beer. Perfect. You're okay. We're gonna edit this out, Mitch, so you're fine.
But keep whispering, though.
We keep whispering. It's really funny.
Yes, I do like the whispering.
We started, and I went to go get a beer, and I forgot, and it was right here, so I just took one.
Hey.
He's inside. All right, sorry. I'll edit this out.
Okay. I guess
talking
let's
about
start at
dating in the pandemic.
So yeah. So maybe in the future we could do some audience questions. But I am an expert single person. I've mastered it. I've mastered being single. And if anybody has any questions, to send me questions specifically right now about dating in the pandemic, and what that's like. So Mitch, do you have any questions, since you are not a single person? What?
Dating in a pandemic.
Yeah.
I guess my first question is it as lonely as it sounds?
It sucks.
Okay. I'm starting to get a vibe here. Is that going to be the answer to every question?
Not this question.
I meant like every question pertaining to dating and pandemic life.
No, well, I would have to say, if you phrased a question a certain way, I'd be forced to change my answer.
Sure.
Yeah, but go ahead, hit me with another.
Other than the initial feeling of it sucking, is it as lonely as it sounds?
Yeah, it sucks.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I wake up and I think, this sucks. And then I go through my day and it's like, this sucks. But not to say that my whole life sucks. It's just like the fact that the dating sucks. Because you know what dating is in the pandemic?
Non-existent.
It's nothing. It sucks.
Right.
So if anybody has any questions about how it sucks,
he's your man.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to, tell you the best places to Zoom in your house while going on a date. What to cook for yourself while someone else is,
now
cooking for themselves.
I really want to delve into the bare bones of this. So what constitutes a Zoom date?
Oh, a Zoom date. It's when you slowly tear down all of your dignity and you reach out to someone on Tinder or wherever your dating app is, and you just talking to them and maybe they're a little bit more open and they want to like actually see you, but you're like, I don't know, stranger, I don't think that I wanted you to give me COVID today. So you suggest a Zoom date, because while you're not going to fill that physical need that you need, you might hopefully fill the emotional need. But as the night goes on and you're eating your pasta and they're eating their, Subway sandwich because they didn't even think to cook for themselves, because we don't have to get the same thing because it's not a Zoom date. Then you slowly realize that nothing can really take the sadness of the situation out of your brain, and then you slowly resign yourself to not dating at all, except in like 3 weeks in a month you start that loneliness again, and it's kind of like an endless cycle of let's give this a try, maybe it'll be different this time, and no, it's not. No.
I believe some of what you were saying is literally the definition of insanity.
Yeah. Wait, no, I can't know that if it's insanity. No. Insanity? What?
Also,
what's insanity right now?
What's insanity?
You know what's real
right
insanity is I said that, and Siri's said hi to me for the 5th time, and that's the definition of insanity. Is that's the 5th time that she said, "Hey, what's up? What can I do for you?" in her Australian accent.
That's a question for another time. But I really wanted to get into
my Siri is Australian?
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong. I just really want to get into the thought process of, I guess we're doing this right now. Why Australian?
Oh, because I think the Australian accent sounds very silly, and I
would agree.
Sorry
to all our Australian fans.
Yeah, honestly, to all of our Australian listeners, I hear you. I feel you. Whenever I hear you, I laugh a little, but I do hear you. And well, it just makes me feel smarter, when I hear someone say something in Australian, especially like an all-knowing device like Siri.
I'm sure there are this is going to go a different way. We're going to start just trash Australians overall, and if we keep going.
We don't have to, and we shouldn't, because
and we won't.
No one in the United States should be trashing any other country right now.
100%. I would agree with that.
Hey, this is what I wanted to get in with you.
Yes.
I want to talk politics. You said politics are messy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why do you think that?
Well, I think the easy answer is really just because if you've turned on a television any time in the last 4 years, it's just messy.
It is. You would call that messy.
I just feel like
explain it like I have been in a coma for the last 4 years and don't know what's going on.
Well, to steal a partial reference from John Mulaney, it's like a horse is loose in a hospital, right?
Horse from the hospital.
The whole.
I heard that bit, but I didn't look at politics, so I don't know what's happening. Explain it to me like I heard that bit, really thought it was funny, but didn't know what he was referencing. It's like I was laughing at some like inside joke that everyone else had, and everyone's like, "You don't know what the inside joke is."
I'd love to be a part of one someday.
I'm like looking at everyone else like pretend to laugh. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, right?
I think the word messy comes from, you have one side that is just better politicians than the other side. And one side traditionally bases on fact and the other side on conspiracy. Mm-hmm. And those things don't mesh well together.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, man, here's the thing. You've been dancing around this subject this whole time. One side this, one side that. I'm just going to come out and say it because I'm brave. Mm-hmm. That Donald Trump guy, I don't like him. I'm not afraid to take a stand.
That's a hot take. I think you and 80 million other people would agree with the same.
I think I am brave, yes. I agree.
You are brave.
Thank you. Are you bold enough to do the same?
Yes, I will say that the former president Donald J. Trump is a clown.
Whoa!
I'd go as far.
You heard it here first. No one else is saying.
I would say that. Now, for all the Trump supporters that are listening to this podcast,
yeah,
I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
But guess what? You'll get over it, and we'll all be friends.
Well, that's actually like a perfect segue into this conversation that I wanted to talk to you about. That I don't know. We're gonna like get a little serious right now. So I had this argument a week ago with someone that I love very dearly. And without getting into the specifics of it, I feel like if I didn't have the emotional understanding of where this person was at, like if I just kept on arguing, and this was about politics, and this was about, that guy, and it was about conspiracy theories and the lack of information. But if I were to really keep arguing with this person, who I do love, I think I might have lost them forever. And I was wondering if the right thing to do, which is what I did, was drop it, or if the right thing to do is to like push forward. How do we deal with these massive differences between ourselves and between a lot of people in society? How do we disagree with each other, especially with the ones that we really actually care about? Because sure, I'll disagree with some troll online, like it's no problem. But when it comes to someone that you love, someone that you respect, how do you deal with that in a way that can maintain the relationship? And when you find that relationship on the line, is that a question of, if they don't have your values, if they don't have the right values, maybe they shouldn't be in your life? Or is there a different line of, it's worth maintaining the people that you love without, it's not like you're compromising your values. You can still let them know where you stand, but is it an allowance to let them be misinformed that way?
I think that to me is the greatest sin that this past administration brought to the world. Was they made disagreeing with each other a sport. They made it, they thrived on confrontation.
Right.
Because you're right. I mean, Joe Biden had, whatever was it, 80 million people and has won the popular vote by however many million. But guess what? There's still like 67 million people that voted for this guy.
73.
Sorry, 73. I haven't looked at the numbers, but that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people in the world that either are, believers in what he has to say or don't care enough about the stuff. And I think you bring up a really good point. I mean, I also have family members that have been leaning that way, and I have gotten into it with them. And I think you did ended up doing the right thing in dropping it, because I think however many years this is going to take for the country to settle down a little bit, you're going to want that person in your life. It's just, I don't think people know how to. I think he was against so many. He went against so many values that are held very deeply with people. So it's not like a traditional, like, I believe in big government or I believe in small government, which is definitely a topic you can debate, but I don't think picking either one or the other is morally wrong, as opposed to, other topics that are, like racism and right to choose and just stuff like that, so it's harder to quantify letting people say these things and just ignoring it. But I know from personal experience that and I'm a confrontational person. Like, If I
I
see
feel
something,
the heat right now. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh yeah,
I'm feeling confronted.
by me.
You need to calm down.
um,
No, please, go on.
I think, like, to a degree, I think I'm confrontational to a degree, and I have to be reminded that it's not really worth it, and it's
Yeah.
really not worth losing a familial relation, especially if this is the first thing really that you've ever disagreed with this person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this person in your past, like, have you traditionally always been at odds with them, or is this really just a last 4 or 5 years type thing?
Yeah, it's like cancel culture, but in like the real life,
Right.
or
Yeah.
in the off the internet life.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. It's just tough though, because you don't want to. You don't want to. How do I phrase this? Let your values go, though, as well, because it is a fine line. There is a fine line of, saying what you want and what you need to say, for even if it's a selfish reason, even if it's just purely for your emotional health, to be honest, but
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I mean, sometimes you feel like you're doing the right thing by swallowing the emotion
mm-hmm,
and swallowing the initial reaction. But it makes you feel like shit,
mm-hmm,
because it's like, well, it's like you're seeing injustice and you don't know what to do about it.
mm-hmm.
And so I completely see where you're coming from on that. I mean, yeah, that's a tough question.
Well, yeah, and it fills with me with this like weird anxiety of where does the future lie with this, like, this country of ours. Just, yes, great news just happened with the Joe Biden victory, and great news just happened with understanding that the soon-to-be ex-president of the United States, while not conceding, is allowing the transition to go forward. I do want to be very clear that he is not conceding, and that is ridiculous and still an issue, because it has been 3 weeks. Maybe things will smooth it themselves over when it's a less emotional time. But if I think back about the last 4 years, about the protesting and the activity in the street, and the activity at a grassroots level, and the injustices over the last 4 years of Donald Trump, that I don't know if we ever actually calmed down from 2016. So I'm not entirely sure that we're going to calm down from the 2020 election. That said, I hope we do, because at the very least, it's much harder to stay and maintain in anger against someone like Joe Biden than it is the ex-president. Because he's just boring.
Which, God, I'm not going to lie to you, the idea of an absolutely boring president that is just going to do that, literally, it's going to bring government back to just sheets of paper and just stacks of sheets of paper, and it's going to make me want to go to sleep and take a nap, and
we could all use a nap.
I could just use a nap. Thank you. I just, like, I'm just going to breathe and know that he's not going to tweet something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might tweet generalistic things,
mm-hmm.
but he's not going to tweet in the wee hours of the night. He's a 78-year-old man. He's going to be going to sleep by 10, maybe even earlier. We don't,
That's really cute.
And that
if you think about it, that's a cute president.
Me happy.
He goes to sleep by 10. He's really cute.
That's really cute.
Picture him cuddling up. You know, with his rescue dog.
Yes.
And
you know what?
And his doctor wife.
I've seen a lot of this stuff float around. You know, you see all these pictures of Republican and Democratic presidents alike with dogs in the White House. And Donald Trump did not have a dog.
Yeah, because he's a sociopath.
I don't want to say that the science is there, but the science is there.
The science is clear. Now, I don't have a dog, but I'm also not the president, so 1 and 1 do not equal 2.
But I'm also not. Alas, you are not the president of the United States.
Everyone knows that I would be excellent at being the president.
I'd vote for you.
Really?
Well, it depends on who you're running against.
Right. That's like, really? I know one person that you'd vote for me over, but
who's that?
The ex-president.
Well, as of January 20th, the ex-president would be Barack Obama, and yes, I would vote for him over you.
Damn. Me too.
But going back to the...
He'd run unopposed.
Going back to the whether to speak out or something like that, I think that's truly the paradox, right? Because it's just like, I feel like I should say something, but I feel like the world needs to just like take a breath and listen. I don't think anybody's listened in 4 years. Like, and it's just train of thought thinking. It's just like literally just like talking. And that's, you watch every single interview that Donald Trump ever did. That's his conversational style. That's just how he is. That's just who he is. I mean,
that's what Twitter is,
And that's what Twitter is, yes.
At a human level, or Facebook even, it's not a conversation. It's, here is my post.
Right.
That is, unless there's, I mean, sure, you could ask a question in your post, but that is very rare. Mostly it's, this is how I feel. It's not really something that's starting a conversation.
Yeah. So my point is just like, you need to be a better listener. I know for myself, I 100% need to be a better listener. And like you said, like where there's 73 million or so people that voted for this guy, the odds are that you're going to meet a few in your day-to-day life, whether they're family or friends or coworkers. You're going to meet them. And I can't tell you how excited I am to go to family functions and not talk politics. And that's why I think.
Do you think that's an option still?
Well, I think in the foreseeable future, probably.
You don't have to bring it up, but I don't know if that's a realistic option.
Well, in one way, this is one of the few benefits of a COVID-19 pandemic, is it's forcing me to not really see most of my
Speaking
family.
Of, Thanksgiving is tomorrow.
Thanksgiving is tomorrow.
Podcast
Recording.
being recorded.
Yes. What are your plans?
Well, my plans are to spend my time with the family that I have been quarantining with. Been very lucky. We've been able to keep it really tight with my sister and her children and my parents and my brother.
Very similar for me. My fiance's sister and her husband just actually moved like kitty corner from her folks' house. Yeah. And they have been consistently a part of our bubble because her sister is pregnant with twins. And so she needs a lot of help. The children are everywhere. So
twins are great.
Yes, twins are great. So we are also keeping the Thanksgiving to just the 8 of us, if you include the 3 and 2-year-old.
That's spectacular.
Which to me is actually like, these are people I see all the time. So it's on one hand, it's a bummer because, Thanksgiving is a time to see relatives that you don't see all the time and sit around and have a meal with. But, at the same time, I'm fortunate in the sense that I have people that I'm not directly living with to share a meal with on Thanksgiving. Right. So I think
you have a brisk walk, 30 seconds.
They're actually coming 30 seconds to me.
You know what? And they should.
Which is even better.
Because look who they're dealing with,
Exactly.
Yeah.
They literally just moved in like 2 weeks ago, so
That's
their house
great.
is still in shambles. But it's good. So,
Good.
but
What
what do
else is
you?
happening with your quarantine? What are you staying busy with? What are you doing for your mental health?
So I've been finding the mental health has been fluctuating.
Okay.
Um, like for instance, yesterday I had a very off day. I think if you know me personally, I think I was very off yesterday, and I'm not entirely sure what the cause of it was.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, as a person, you know, just reflecting back to the politics discussion, I am very happy with the results. And I'm looking at the vaccines news, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel with
And
this
also,
whole.
I don't think I'd be wrong in saying you are a naturally happy person.
Thank you. Yes, I like to
Upbeat.
think I am an upbeat
Yeah.
person, but I had an off day yesterday. I
Yeah.
found I was a little short tempered, and minor things were annoying me to a
Mhm.
greater extent than they needed to.
Oh, you know
Um,
what? I forget. I forgot what it was. I was really upbeat yesterday, so we must have just done a quick personality switch
maybe we did. Maybe
because
we did. But I don't think you're that normally a down person either.
I think I am. I think
You
I
do?
am. I think that there's a part of me, and I don't want to forget about what you're talking about here because I do
Mhm.
think it's important. But I think that there is a part of me that has learned over the years that presenting yourself as less negative than you actually are. I don't think in an unhealthy way because I do think that I am negative, but I don't think that I am unhealthily negative. I
Sure.
think that I have learned to present myself in a very different way. Um, or at least moderately different, you know. But anyways, I want to stay on topic about what you were saying
But
about your day.
yeah, I mean, and I don't, like I said, don't really know particularly what the reason was. Because normally when as of this recording, I am on furlough
Mm,
from my job at the moment, and so I've been trying to find hobbies to do day to day to try to keep the demons at bay.
mm,
And I've been very fortunate that my fiance's folks' house have a piano
mm.
in their house that recently just got tuned. So I've been trying to get my piano chops back up and running after a couple weeks
Yeah,
hiatus. Which I'm not gonna lie, I really do think that my mood is very reflective on whether if did I do something creative today.
hmm.
Um,
Well, I wonder about this day that you had yesterday,
mhm,
about being naturally upbeat and finding ways to fill your time.
mhm.
Um, Now, I have definitely been in the same boat of trying to fill my time with a certain amount of stuff, but it is to a certain point a distraction. Do you think that maybe that day, yesterday, it kind of was a realization of it being a distraction?
What's the distraction?
Music, the things that you fill your day with, now that
Is a
you are.
distraction.
Yeah, well, not that it's not great and wonderful, but
Hmm.
like without your job, without a certain amount of structure in your life that you used to have,
Hmm.
um, we've been filling our days with different artistic ideas, with podcasts, with working out,
Hmm.
with more TV. Are
Yeah.
these things right? Is all of that stuff really fulfilling to you, or is it just filling? Is it just something to tide you over? Do you think you found a point where you weren't being tied over by those certain activities and actions?
No.
No.
The way you described it, I would say that they are more distractions because, like you said,
Not to
you
say
know,
that your music isn't,
no.
because you're very passionate about that.
Thank you,
But
thank you. I would say that it is something, I'm a person that, if I put my mind to it, I can really be a lazy, sit on the couch, do nothing all day type person.
Yeah.
Um, and so to me, it's the small victory of getting up and
Right.
doing an activity, which could in the larger scheme be just filling to get through the day.
Sure. And that's okay right now for it to be
Right.
filling as well, you know.
And I've had a lot of conversations with my fiance about, you know, sometimes it's hard to feel fulfilled. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's hard to feel like you have a purpose every day when you don't work for 6 months.
Yeah.
And, you
Yeah.
know, and, you just have to remind yourself, like, going out of your way to help people, um, you know, all that other stuff that you can, this is the time. I'm trying to look at it as an opportunity to do things that I wouldn't normally do in a normal day.
Uh-huh.
If I'm working 9 to 5,
Yeah.
if I'm doing a show, if I'm doing a performance, like I wouldn't
Yeah.
have the time to see my family and help babysit my future nieces and nephews, and I wouldn't have
Right.
that. I wouldn't be able to do that as much, and they probably wouldn't know me that well. And
Yeah.
I think it's like I said, in the grand sense of the term, it is filling. It's
Hmm.
just how do I get to the night?
Right. And all, the 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 filling that we've d- decided that this is. I mean, it can still be a part of your life when, life goes back to normal. There are probably things that are making you happier than you realize they would. I will say that there's a lot of stuff that during this quarantine that I found I am really happy about getting to spend more time on and
Sure.
more time with. But without the structure of the day as well, even if it's not the job that you love, but like just this is when I get up, this is when I go do this thing, this is when I go out to eat, even, this is you're in Holly date nights.
Yeah.
Um, the structure of the whole thing, I think, kind of leads to like a restlessness.
So for you,
Hmm.
obviously, in a non-pandemic world, our
Yeah,
our version of structure,
yeah,
my version of structure is a lot different than your version of structure.
yeah.
Just because of what I've known, that you're a New York bartender, you're an
Hmm.
aspiring actor,
Going
that's a
to
very,
school.
and you're going to school, exactly, you're going
Yeah,
to school, and those are all
yeah,
very fluid
yes,
activities.
yeah.
How have you how would you say you're filling in the structure of that?
Mm. Well, so the thing about those three things that you specifically mentioned, the school, the acting, and the bartending, is that they're all inherently kind of creative things. Um, Learning is creative, acting is creative, bartending is pretty creative itself too, just because
Mm-hmm.
it's about conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's about, I made the cocktail menus at a certain amount of places that I was at, so it's about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think the thing that's really been um, the toughest part of being in this quarantine is, where is my outlet for that now? And I don't know if I've entirely solved it. I am a writer, and I thought that I could finish a script while I was here, at the very least. And it made writing harder, actually, that I had all this time, which is really frustrating because I had all
Yeah.
this time. This was
Mm-hmm.
the time to do it. But I found that when I was more on the go, when I was more moving, the writing came much easier. Um,
That's fascinating to me, because I mean you read all these like entertainment news, and you see like all these musical artists that have been like, well, we had time on our hands, so here's a
mhm,
record that's like
mhm.
2 years early, or stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like that's very fascinating to me, that the solitariness of your situation has actually like stunted
Yeah,
some of the creative juices.
the wild thing about it is, I don't know if it's stunted like the creative juices, because I have been doing more music as well since. But the thing about writing, I think, in particular, especially with acting, which I'm going to get into the weeds, this is going to be super interesting for our listeners, is that I'm going to talk about the Meisner technique of acting. The Meisner technique of acting is about doing or being truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Doing is how I specifically learned it at the William Esper studio, but William Esper was a student of Sanford Meisner and wrote his own book after. Very similar stuff, slight differences. So when I was doing when I was doing Meisner technique, it was very easy to get into the technique with one other person. To do the exercises was basically, you had to prepare one or two things, but in the end of it, at the really end of the process, it was about being connected, being there, doing something, but like also connecting with the other person. And for lack of a better word, it was improvisation. There was improvisation as to, following that technique. And it's not, improvisation is the wrong word, but in terms of the words that come out of your mouth, whatever you feel comes out. And what that really does, so the real point of this is what that really does as a writer is it frees you to say anything. So when I'm so immersed in that technique, and then I go to the book to write, I've already kind of been formatting something, anything. And not that I'm like taking from what I just acted, but the fact that I was already in a zone of going, I feel this, they come back and say something, and the way that they react makes something happen to me, and I do that. You're kind of almost writing a script with the person.
Yeah.
Without thinking about it, of course. That isn't the end result of it, but like if the technique is done well, it almost turns into something like that, or it can, but I think that actually helped me write more, was just the fact that I was so involved in other creative stuff. And something that is actually something that I have to look at is, how am I when I'm alone? What type of person am I? What type of creative person am I while I'm alone? Am I going to get up and do it? Do I need a kick in the butt?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, because I think the entire idea of creating art, sometimes different types of art require collaboration, and the idea that you have to be comfortable being alone to be able to be a good collaborator sometimes. I've always found very fascinating, because I feel like most of the stuff that I do, either in music or in theater or in any other creative outlet, I always find that I'm a little bit better in a collaboration atmosphere, not so much in by myself. And so what tips would you give somebody who's trying to become better by themselves?
Well, you have to know what activates you. For me, there's this way of preparing for the moment. It's like waiting for the other shoe to drop. There's a book, Zen and the Art of Archery. And the book is about this man learning archery. And there's this one part where he's pulling back on this giant bow, and it takes all the strength in the world, you know, to pull back. And these other people, they're just kind of letting it go, pulling it back, letting it go. It doesn't look like there's much effort behind what they're doing. And he's yanking at this thing, and he can barely get it back. And what he's really learning is how to maintain relax while being diligent in one thing, but through a relaxed but focused way. You have to find what makes you comfortable, but
Right.
also what turns you on, really. And you need to let yourself be turned on whenever it is you want to do work. You know, you can't just sit down and say, well, I'm going to write. And then you write. And then tomorrow, I'm going to write again. I'm going to write again. You can have the plan to write, but what you're really preparing to do is to be turned on to write, to get emotionally prepared, to be artistically prepared to write every day. So whatever is really making you emotionally, artistically prepared, you need to be able to put that in your everyday life. Because it's not really about the writing even. It's not about the acting. It's not about the painting. It's not about the technique at the end of it. The technique is something that you learned really, really well to throw away.
Right.
Because you already have it. It's about the doing.
Another kind of on the same topic, we're saying we're talking about, finding ways to inspire yourself when you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like that's a testament to confidence in the creative arena. I feel like in my personal experience, which is a lot more community-based, obviously you're in New York, so you have more of a professional exposure in certain aspects of the world. I find that you can tell people in the community landscape who are not good at being alone. And how that reflects in either their performance or their day-to-day lives. I feel like I'm very good at picking up on people and being like, oh, you can't spend 30 minutes with your thoughts.
Do you think as a performer that rings through?
Yes.
Interesting.
I think it's hard to. I think I don't connect with performances if I get that vibe from you, because I don't know if you can emotionally attach to anything in those arenas.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. There is this wonderful book called The Mystic in the Theater, Eleanor Duse. And Eleanor Duse was this actor in the 1900s through 1920s, before then as well. But her main quest, and what really was so special about her, was that during a time when acting, especially on stage, was very presented and presentable, she was really working on the things that Stanislavski would work on, that Meisner would work on after, that is being truthful. And the biggest thing that she found was her issue, was her ego. You know, It was what she was fighting against her whole life, was to be a true artist, because she had a big ego, according to herself. Was that was her fight, was to not need like that, to not want like that. I do think it makes you better as an artist, and I don't truly understand why, when you can do things for you and do things for the love of the art or for the belief in the message of the art, but not for what you think people would like. Because that's inherently a selfish move, and a move that doesn't put you on strong footing.
Right.
But when you're doing it for yourself, because it fulfills you, if you're doing it because you want to get a very specific message out, it gives you kind of a strength.
It gives you, I would 100% agree. It gives you a strength. And I feel like you can tell in performances that I can tell watching somebody going that they needed that.
Sure.
They needed that today.
Yeah.
And obviously the best artists really bring in their day-to-day lives into their performances all the time.
Yeah.
They drive from that. And I've always, in my experience, the people who are not who are very like on the outskirts of creating whatever the art is, they're like, it looks like you had fun, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
And,
like that.
And sometimes, you like roll your eyes because you're just going to say that because you don't really have an intellectual opinion because this isn't your arena, and that's okay.
Mitch,
it's like me talking about cars.
Fun.
It's like me talking about cars. It's like, it looks fast.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, they couldn't possibly understand. the difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because, I mean, the idea behind acting is to make it look as if it's just being lived out right then, right? Or the thing about singing is to make the sound sweet and beautiful, and or not, but but no one could possibly know the specific techniques behind singing, behind acting, behind something that's kind of just within you. I mean, playing the piano. The thing about playing the piano is everyone knows it's hard. Because everyone can see everyone's fingers. And yet, that's about 50% of playing the piano. Because it's not even just about where the fingers are going, it's about where the hand placement is and how to keep the hand placement there. Or, your back, you standing up, your posture, your core strength, your breathing through the notes to just maintain the counting that you're doing. That's really only 1/3 of it. And there are a lot of other arts, unlike the piano, that don't show any of the hard part and just make it look easy. And that's one thing that acting specifically is that it doesn't show what the real truth behind the technique is.
Right. And I think that that's also true with singing.
Yeah.
Because, singing is an instrument where the inner workings are literally inside of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to describe to somebody. Well, it's your vocal cords vibrating together,
right,
at different frequencies.
People just think People just think that there's only one way to breathe, and then you say the word diaphragm, and they're like, "What? What's a diaphragm?" No. I haven't used a diaphragm. No, it's just like I just usually use condoms. I don't use a diaphragm. No. Sorry, you misunderstood.
Yeah, I think from all my artist friends that I talk to, and I think there's a general consensus in the sense that it's like it's like you're a part of a club. Mm-hmm. You're a part of like a secret club. And only the people inside the club sometimes just understand what you're going through. And sometimes it's just nice to be around those people.
I especially like in that club, and I definitely feel that as well. I don't like the club members who know everything that I know. I love to work with the club members that know everything that I know. But I want to talk to the person who plays very specific, any instruments. I mean, I play some things, but like nothing that I couldn't probably learn a lot about, or painting, or dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love the club members that are, because if you really talk to them, there's a lot of things that are the same about the technique, especially about like the comfort, the relaxation, the place you put your mind, really.
I found myself over the last 5, 6 years of my life, I feel like I found myself changing the types of artists I like to hang around with.
Mm.
Um, because
How so?
I think I have a, just my personality is I have a strong sense of admiration towards people who I find extremely talented and who are better than me in whatever arena. And I usually
Yeah.
like want to be around them and suck every single piece of information out of their bones. And I find myself getting less patient with people who maybe is the opposite, where I don't really feel like I'm going to learn anything from them.
Hmm.
Or, and it kind of makes me feel a little guilty to some degree because I feel like it's not necessarily their fault that I'm not, I don't learn anything from them, and I find that sometimes when I'm in like a show and there's just a person that I don't really respect their talent that much, but like they obviously have a reason they're here.
Hmm.
I had
Yeah.
sometimes I have a hard time talking to those people and
Well,
having a conversation with them,
yeah.
especially if I
There's
have to work
this.
with them
Yeah,
directly.
I mean, for sure. There was this one story that my teacher at Esper, taught told us about one of his students who, you know, during the second year, he kind of figured out the technique. It kind of all clicked, and he was like, "It's this simple." And Bruce was like, "Yeah, it's this simple." And he couldn't take it, and he wanted it. He wanted acting to be this like mystical, unanswerable, like question for the rest of his life. So he quit. I quit the school, but he kept acting, and he wasn't that
Holy
good.
shit.
Yeah, right, but like he kept on like searching for the truth. And there is a certain amount of like when I deal with someone who is not as far along in like specific trainings, or you know is figuring out that they just want to do acting, and they are trying to figure out how it works, and they're not where I am, which for better or worse, however good or bad of an actor I am is purely not up to me, but how good or bad my technique is up to me.
Right.
But in terms of just like these people asking these like almost mythologized questions about this technique, it's hard to listen to sometimes when the answer is really just so simple. And
Yeah. I mean, I'll go to for a specific reference. I don't want
Mhm,
to necessarily name the show or the people that this
mhm,
scenario happened, but I was recently in a dream show of mine a couple years ago,
mhm.
and I'll be honest, I auditioned just because it was an opportunity to be in that show, and
Yeah.
I didn't really do my due diligence of who's this company, who these people, are
Yeah.
they worth spending your time with? I
Yeah.
learned pretty quickly on that it was not worth spending my time with. But so I had, so every day was a struggle showing up to rehearsal and going, and not going, you are all beneath me,
Oof.
which is really like,
You're a
now
little
looking
monster,
back,
aren't you?
exactly like looking back on it two years ago, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
Like I hated that I felt like that. And to be fair, there was a lot of people there. I can name 4 or 5 people from that show that I have a very good relationship with now because I feel like I was able to slowly but surely open up myself to just like the person and not really separate the art
Yeah.
from the person.
Yeah.
Um, and all in all, I think I don't regret doing the show,
Yeah.
you know, because I think it made me a better performer to a degree.
Hmm.
But I remember like that was like I felt like I had seen it all in community theater. And then
Mm.
I go into a thing and go, oh, so this is what it feels like to be.
Right.
Yeah, where you
I
feel
understand,
superior.
and
Yeah,
I understand that, and I understand that you don't want to sound specifically bad about the situation, but from what it sounds like, it was like a very miraculously bad experience. Like it wasn't just
Mm-hmm.
like, that's not just who you are. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's just what happened to was just specifically hard to deal with. And it is tough to be an artist when you're surrounded by people who are supposed to be an artist with you and are not.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and again, going back to the differences between how professionals, go about their day to day,
Yeah.
and being in community theater is that's part of that's just it. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
to deal with those people because some people are just doing it for fun. I mean,
Right.
we're all doing it for fun,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's hard to separate the fact that it's like, yeah, I'm doing this for fun, but like this is fulfilling for me on a different level.
Yeah.
And I kind of want you to just inherently accept that and understand that, which you might not necessarily be able to do.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I've always struggled to evoke those emotions to people sometimes. So I feel like sometimes I might come off as standoffish to people
Well, it's
because,
tough.
yeah, I think I'm getting better at it though.
Well, you have to understand that it was your decision,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. That's a good point.
Right? You made a decision that this was the type of theater that you wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
because you wanted to pursue other things as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Comes with the territory, right?
It does come with the territory.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for me,
I feel that though.
and I mean, to give a quick little history lesson about where I come from, in the sense of, and going into college, I was I got the scholarship options. I got
Mm-hmm.
the ability to go try to start taking this seriously as a career.
Yeah.
And I think I'm different in the sense that I learned pretty quick into the acting program that I was in that this is not something that I want to devote 24 hours of my day to.
Yeah.
I think the sense of uncertainty was off-putting to me very quickly, and
Uncertainty.
You know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm not entirely sure.
Just the nature of the business, the nature of
Sure. Now I understand.
not necessarily knowing what your next thing's going to be.
Yeah.
And when you start putting, economic stability onto those decisions, it made me very.
Yeah.
nervous.
No, now I totally get it. I was thinking
Yes.
about uncertainty, specifically at your school, not in the now. Now that
Well,
makes a ton of
actually,
sense.
you know what though? I mean, that in that point too, there was uncertainty in that. Now that you say
Really?
it, like, yeah, I mean, I think depending on where you go to school, depending on what program you enroll in,
Uh-huh.
they're all different, but they're also very similar.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting like a ginormous leap from the high school setting to a college setting in terms of professionalism and opportunity.
Yeah.
And it was not as big as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I went to a school before I went to a college, a university before I went to Esper Studio, and I could not take the differences between there are some immensely intensely talented people, but there was this weird range of people that it did make it very hard to be like, if we're learning the same technique, then what are you doing? And then because it's not about, because they're just kids. you know. And if they're just kids, then like that's kind of the teacher's fault.
Yeah, I tend to think that, and this is definitely an opinion that I've come to in the last like 3 or 4 months. I feel like the Esper Studio that you're in now,
Mm-hmm.
I feel is a much more appropriate use of resources to
Yeah.
better yourself in an arena like that than
Mm-hmm.
go to a 4-year university and
I
go
absolutely
into their
agree with you.
program. I think because like you said, you go in as an 18-year-old, you have to learn how to first off live by yourself
Yeah.
potentially. You have to learn how to take all your other classes and then
Mm-hmm.
go to an acting class and then perform a monologue to the best of your ability. I mean, if you can do all those things, and there are plenty of people who have been able to do those things, and I think those
Well,
people
but then you have
face
way too many skills to be an actor.
exactly. Yeah, why are you an actor if you have all those skills?
If you can time manage like that, you should be doing something else.
Makes a lot more money. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I know that like people I've met that like parents that I've met, they always are like, I think like school shouldn't even offer that stuff. Like 4-year universities shouldn't even offer
I
that
agree.
stuff
I
because
think it'd have to
it's
be specifically special
yes.
department.
Like I think you can still offer programs. I think you can still
Yeah.
do shows and stuff like that. But I feel like saying, "Hey, here's a 4-year curriculum of the stuff you're gonna take and learn and be graded on,
Well,
and
the
this is gonna
issue with
prepare
it,
you."
yeah, the issue with it is with acting in particular is it's really hard to judge from a collegiate level as the dean uh, of that specific school who is and what makes and what doesn't make a good acting teacher,
Right.
because so many people can say that they are Meisner trained and now you can be a Meisner actor. No, you can't. No, you can't. It's a completely different skill set to learn how to do the technique as it is to learn how to teach it. And also, if they're the ones teaching it, and then the other person learned it from this person who doesn't know how to teach it, and then they say they're Meisner trained, what does that even mean?
Right.
There's no real rules behind it. For the William Esper studio, at the very least, you have to go to the William Esper studio. And then you have to go back to the William Esper studio to learn how to teach at the William
Yeah.
Esper studio. And then you can teach at the William Esper studio because they uphold their standard.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I often found that I wasn't convinced that some of the instructors at where I went to school did they get the job because they have a resume, or did they get the job because they're passionate about educating future actors?
It's really cool to be super into the arts, but it's not entirely helpful.
Right. And to be fair, like I don't want it to seem like, for those who know me, they know what.
Oh, I'm sure this is all going to get cut out. I'm pretty positive. We've been talking about acting for way too long.
Yeah, we should veer back. I mean, as a disclaimer for the listeners, we are both
Been nice,
actors. It's been nice, and we'll try to in future episodes to talk about other things. But
I was looking, and we had about 40 minutes of solid stuff before we got into acting. So.
That's impressive.
Quite impressive, right?
That is quite impressive.
And like factor in all, the purple mattress commercials we're gonna have to put in, and that's like an hour.
You know it.
Hey, this mattress is
Hey,
it's sent to you in a box.
All future sponsors, we're willing to cut so much acting time in from our talks
to
put your product in.
Imagine how good this podcast will be if you pay us to not talk about acting.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
Oh, God.
But I mean, in fairness,
finish your thought for sure.
I mean, and just in fairness, I mean, and I mean, this is just, I can feel like a rep in the sense of this is just you and me talking, and a lot of times when you and me talk, it ends up turning to a little bit of an acting, just because we're both actors, and that's partially how we met and became friends. So we apologize, but hopefully we tried to
deal with it.
I'm
not gonna apologize. Deal with it.
Yeah, screw it. Screw you. Listen.
We are who we are.
We are who we are, and we don't want you to change who you are either.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
I was wondering when you were going to ask me about this flask that I've been twisting on.
Yes.
It still smells like Jägermeister from when I was in college, and really liked Jaeger, I guess, for like a week. So I've been putting gin in it over and over because it's so gross, and it's getting slowly less Jaegery. Like, I honestly barely smell it now.
I feel like that should be the slogan for Jägermeister. You're going to be super into it for a week and then never drink it again.
Yeah. Seriously. It's so gross. It's so gross. At least it's not Fireball.
Honestly, I'd prefer Fireball over Jaeger.
Really? I don't know about.
Because you know what it is?
Please
Fireball is a taste that I'm comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
It's a taste that it's not good, it's not great, but I know it. It's the basic. I know it. I know what it's going to be. I know it's going to suck for a second, and then I'm going to get over it.
Yeah.
But for Jägermeister, I feel like every time I've ever had Jaeger, it has been slightly different and slightly more awful every single time.
I just really hate cinnamon.
Well, yeah.
I just really hate.
Or in liquor.
I mean, especially in liquor.
Yeah.
I do like cinnamon sometimes, but like it's never been great for my stomach, to be honest.
It's usually a good reason to stop having it.
Yeah. And also, I don't know. The reason why I guess I like Jaeger better is because I really do like Fernet Branca.
I'm not familiar.
It's like better Jaeger. It's like much better Jaeger. It's spectacular. But it has the same sort of licorice-y profile to it. Just much more refined. So I guess I like Jaeger because I like that.
I guess.
And I just really hate cinnamon in liquor.
I really don't like licorice in general, so I feel like maybe that's why I would prefer Fireball.
Yeah. Maybe
I feel like
I'll get you a Fernet Branca for Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can be super classy. It's pretty classy.
But if I don't like licorice, am I even going to like it?
Oh, then you could just send it back. Just don't put your mouth on the bottle.
Take one shot. This was terrible.
Yup.
Happy Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. You tried.
You know what I'm going to do, though, for every other piece of liquor that was a present for me, the liquor that I didn't care about, it's just going to be in my liquor cabinet till the end of time.
Yeah.
I'll keep it. I'll hold on to it because I value your friendship.
But then also someone eventually will like it, and then you'll be like, wow, my bar is so full, I basically have everything.
I have it.
Yeah.
Me and my fiance are currently in the house hunt, and every single time there's like a bar in the photos, I'm always like, let's go look at it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I either get a house with a mini bar already there, or I just spend money to build one anyway.
Yeah.
Because I'm very confident that I'm going to need.
But it wouldn't be super hard to build a bar.
That's true. But I'm talking about like a nice one. Like a nice like section of whatever part of your house. Maybe it's like a basement, maybe it's a lower level. And it's just like you walk in, you know where everything is. And
would it have like a sink? Would it
maybe not initially. Maybe not initially.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that'd be a lot of work to put plumbing in.
For sure. Maybe. Depends on where it is.
Right. But like for reference, like where I'm at right now, my future in-laws have a bar in
Yeah.
their like basement,
Yeah.
their
It's
lower
nice.
level, and it is a nice bar. But my future in-laws are not drinkers, like
Yeah.
at all.
They should
So
donate it to
I
you.
come down and I'm looking through their stash, and they have like pretty much everything you like, every form of liquor.
Yeah.
Not a lot of it great, but they have it. And like all the simple syrup, the
Yeah.
bitters and all that stuff. And I'm always just like,
How old
you
is their
have this.
simple syrup?
Some of it's unopened.
It's
So like,
unopened, like it's store bought simple syrup.
yeah.
Oh.
And it's just like unopened. So like, I don't even look at the expiration date because I can't imagine it's bad. Right? Does simple syrup go
It's
bad?
sugar and water. It's just like I'm
Exactly.
just interested. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I'm like, how much simple syrup do you have? I found
Yeah.
out is because my in-laws used to do I should say used to, because I think this is the first year that they're not actually having a Christmas party.
Right.
But they have like this
Hopefully next
ginormous,
year.
yeah, well, maybe next year. They have this ginormous party with like friends from high school,
Hmm.
and people throughout their 40 years that they've been married, and everybody always brings liquor to these parties,
Mhm.
and then they don't take it home, and so it's
Is it
just a
like a running joke
stockpile.
of like just like everyone's Christmas liquor?
That's what I was kind of thinking. I was like, is this like a running gag? And they're like, no, I think people like legitimately think other people are going to drink it, and then no one drinks it, and so it just ends up in our bar.
Sweet. That'd be a nice wedding present.
So yeah,
Just like all the liquor.
actually, I would want to go in there and hand select which ones,
Sure, but
because
like we were saying before, you don't have to want them because maybe eventually
right,
some one guest will. And then you're like, "Oh, I got it. I hate it, but I got it."
which flavor of vodka do you want? I have caramel. I have cherry.
God, dear God. Caramel. You started so strong with that vodka. What's a caramel vodka taste like?
Can I tell you what really grinds my gears?
I could tell you one thing that caramel vodka doesn't taste like.
What?
Caramel.
Can't you say that for every flavored vodka?
Yeah, but especially caramel. Because dear God. Yeah. So, how are we doing on time? Look, I think it's time for our first new and semi weekly feature called Mitch Gets High and Tells Us About a Show.
So I had a crossroads with this.
Yeah.
The the show that John told me to review,
I've never seen it before.
he's never seen it before, and neither had I. And it's a series of 6 episodes.
Hmm.
And I had asked him, I said, do you want me to watch all 6 episodes and then report, or I just watch one episode and let
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I want to quote what John actually said to me. And it was, whatever feels right. Which, when you're in the early stages of getting high, is
Oh, you were.
extremely unhelpful.
Oh, you were already like. You were on it at that time. You were like, I'm
Yes.
gonna get high and watch right now.
Yes.
But by the way, before I'm too far gone, how far am I gonna go with this?
Right. I wanted some guidance, and you provided none.
I thought this was more just like a question, not like an emergency.
So anyway, I ended up watching only one episode
Okay.
because,
Well, we could do a weekly thing.
and that's what I was thinking. I feel like we
Yeah.
could get more into it. But so we did a show called, it's a new Netflix series called We Are the Champions.
Right.
And the basic premise of it, from what I've gathered,
Uh-huh.
is that every episode is like a different competition, sport based thing
Uh-huh.
around the world
Uh-huh.
that people do and go hard for.
Yeah.
And this first episode was cheese rolling.
Cheese rolling.
Cheese rolling.
Okay.
Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, and if you have
Yes.
seen the episode, you might know what I'm
Enlighten
talking
us.
about. But in Gloucestershire, England, I believe is how you pronounce it, there is a
Mhm.
hill. I forgot what they named the hill because, again, I was high. I forgot what the hill was called, but it's
Probably
like
named after some king or queen.
it's like almost like an 85-degree angle straight down.
Sure.
It is extraordinarily steep, and people, the premise is they have a roll of cheese and they roll it down the hill,
Yeah.
and then people run after it.
Wait. Okay.
And you might be thinking, oh, it's like downhill skiing where there's like 7 like slots and they all run. No. They cram a bunch of people and they all just run.
It's pretty narrow.
Oh, it's narrow.
Does each person have a cheese, or is there one cheese that everyone is following?
You know what's funny is this thing's called cheese rolling, but the cheese is actually very minimal in terms of the actual act of rolling down the hill.
Right.
It's just basically like the starting gun.
They're not racing cheeses, though.
Because the cheese will always win.
I was wondering if it was like what was that Boy Scout thing with the cars, the Derby, whatever. And it just goes down the hill and you race. Right. So it's not like someone goes home and whittles the perfect wheel out of this cheese that they had made from their cow in England.
No.
Where everyone has a cow. We all know this to be true.
It is,
and
absolutely.
They don't race the most aerodynamic cheese.
No.
Okay.
No.
Then what do they do?
So, like I said, it is at the simplest terms. It's a race to who goes down the hill first.
Yeah.
And as you might, if you're any smart in terms of gravity and acceleration and momentum,
sure.
You would know that like an 85, and again, don't quote me, I don't remember the exact degree of the hill, but it's very steep.
Yeah.
That running straight down at a certain speed, it's impossible to stay on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so these people are just running and then falling and flipping and rolling at high speed down this hill. And you know what the prize is?
Is it
the roll of cheese?
It's the cheese.
It's the roll of cheese. I don't know. They didn't even go into what type of cheese it is, which was my first question. I was like, what type of cheese is it? I also feel like
the 5-second rule is broken with this whole race.
The cheese is wrapped in like a wax or a plastic. So I think technically the integrity of the cheese is probably fine.
And that's what I needed to hear. That's the important part.
Right. And one of my favorite parts is that the winners. So if you're familiar with hockey, when they win, they hold the Stanley Cup and they skate around with the cup like above their heads. They do something very similar with the cheese. They just hold the roll of cheese and they just run around and show it to the. And this is like a sporting event, like people.
Like, hey, you audience, check out my cheese.
Exactly. And the thing is like this is a ginormous event. It only happens once a year at the same location. And like people all up and down the hill to the sides, the back, like it's an event. They watch.
Is there like a tournament to it? Or how does everyone race? So, is it like 100 people going down the hill at once, or is there like a?
I took minor notes. I tried to keep track of a little bit so I could keep my train of thought focused.
Thank God.
Right, but mind you, also I'm very scared of what I wrote because I was really high.
Did you look over what you wrote?
No, this is the first time I'm looking at it now.
Beautiful. Thank God.
So, from what I could understand, there's a men's and a women's division.
Mm-hmm.
And basically and I think maybe they have heats to a certain degree, but my point being is it's still way too many people per heat.
Right. How many people did it seem like there was per heat?
Like 20.
That's a lot.
And it's not that wide of a
it's
space.
A pretty steep hill.
And it's a very steep hill, and people.
And is there any lanes?
No.
Okay.
There's no lanes. Now they did interview veterans of this, and there are like local heroes, like people who are really good at this. Like, first off, when I'm watching this, I'm like, there are people who win this more than once.
Yes, the 10-time champion.
Exactly. It's like and they go like, oh well, this part of the hill there's like this divot, and you always want to try to catch it with your. It's like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, there's a divot in the hill. Their whole life is based around really knowing the ins and outs of that hill.
Exactly.
That's
My,
stupid.
my second question was, is as I'm going through this, I'm like this, what do these people do for their day jobs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
Do they look?
basically, so let me just go over the notes here really quick, because this is what my initial thing is. So they had a narrator, as it's a Netflix documentary type thing. So they had a narrator, and my initial thought was, this is Dwight from The Office. And it's not. I looked it up. But it sounded extraordinarily.
Did it sound like
Dwight?
Like Rainn Wilson, or did it sound like Dwight?
It sounded like Rainn Wilson.
Oh, okay. The guy wasn't like talking like Dwight, though.
No, it was not like this.
That'd have been great. And I would watch the hell out of that documentary.
And the way that they format the episode is they kind of show you like the gathering right before the race, and all that stuff. And there's like, you overheard like a staff person that's like overseeing the event like this. We got medical on standby, and I'm like, you need medical people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
If you need medical people, why are we doing this?
For the glory, of course. My good man, it's for the glory.
And then I literally fifth paragraph, the note down, I have, these people are fucking nuts.
Yeah. Really?
Like, these people are just
Did you get to know any of the like the people who were in the tournament?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a woman, don't ask me her name, but there's a woman who had won it
three. Mitch, I don't want to interrupt your flow, but I had a quick question.
What's that?
What was her name?
I don't know.
This podcast is ruined.
I do know that there was a guy, the last name was Anderson, but his like niece was running in place for him, like in the girls division. Like she was keeping the family tradition alive, and her last name was
beautiful.
Anderson. But that's the only name I remember. But the woman that they talk about, the main one, she's won it 3 times. And if she wins the 4th one, she'll be the winningest woman in this competition.
Mm.
So
the next step is, she's got to face the men.
Well, it sounds like they don't actually commingle like that, which is really interesting to me, because I feel like the nature of this competition, I really feel like it doesn't benefit male or female whatsoever. Like, there's no genetic advantage to being a man in this race at all, to me.
Well, you do have that third. Never mind.
But this chick had like a bump on her shoulder from when she busted her collarbone, and it's basically
like broke her collarbone.
Yeah, and it's basically broken, and it can't be healed. Like, it's permanently broken
for the cheese to get some cheese. What type of cheese?
Again, I didn't look. It seemed
it'd have to be a hard cheese, right? Because it was going downhill.
Right.
It couldn't be like a brie.
And also, what blew my mind was this Anderson girl, the one that's the niece that's carrying on the torch. Yeah. She was like, "This is my first time doing the downhill race."
There's an uphill. Wait.
To which I said, "There's an uphill race?"
Twins.
As if the people running downhill weren't nuts enough. The people deciding to run up the hill.
Is the cheese rolled up, or is the cheese just up there and you got to just race to the top? Or is there just a straight? Well, we're forgetting about the third option.
What's the third option?
A no-hill race.
Isn't that just track and field?
Yes, but with cheese.
From the footage that they show you, it does not seem that cheese is involved in the uphill race. So really, what's the point? Is really what I got.
Is there like a different weird prize for the uphill one? It's like cheese for the downhill, but then crackers for the uphill, and like the two winners are supposed to go on a date later.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what it sounded like.
You're supposed to get cheese and crackers and a bottle of wine. You provide your own wine.
But so yeah, the main woman, she introduces herself and then she's like, I have a cast quest.
What's a cast quest?
It is a quest to get a cast on your body. She always wanted a cast on her body.
She wants to break.
And when she permanently broke her collarbone, you can't really cast a collarbone.
Oh,
I've
bummer.
broken my collarbone. You have to wear a sling.
I guess that's a bummer that she didn't get a cast.
But I'm just like, what is your priority to just seek to get a cast? Long story short, she wins this race, gets her fourth title, and also broke her, like, a part of her leg. So she got a cast. And the most off-putting
Dreams come true.
The most off-putting part of the entire thing was the people talking. It's like this. No one's died yet.
Amazing.
And it's just like that
Do they
doesn't
wear
deter
helmets?
people. No. Like
Do they wear any sort of protection?
there's no like gear. It's
Did
like
they sign a
some
waiver?
people. No.
Weird.
It's just like people can just jump in. Like you can either register or you can have people that literally just jump over the line and just join the race anyway in like plain clothes.
Ridiculous.
But I have to tell you my favorite part of the entire
Yes.
thing. So you get attached to these female characters.
Yeah.
The niece Anderson girl. So it's her first race going down. So immediately I'm attached and I don't want her to die. Because they're going to set this up like she's going to die. Like she's going to get like majorly injured. And it's going to be like this terrible, terrible thing. She was completely fine. And she got like fourth. Because they actually do end up showing the race in full time, like in real time, like how fast it is. Because it's really quick. Like people, they open the show with saying Usain Bolt had 100 meters and this time. And they said, you can actually break that time going down this hill. Because it's 100 meters, the hill.
Right.
And people break Usain Bolt's record for 100 meters going down this hill.
With an asterisk.
Right. But basically, it's fast. It's a fast race.
Right.
And this Anderson girl is like, she went like the first maybe 15 meters on her feet and then immediately started rolling and then just continued to roll the rest of the race.
So she was only on her feet for like
a millisecond.
For 15% of the whole race.
Like the
100 meters.
Like you can tell like the experts, like they learned how to, when they're rolling, if like they start to feel their feet hit the ground, like they straighten their body and they start running again.
Yeah.
Like they've learned to like control their body and
get back. Yeah.
Right. But like you can tell the people that are just like, I'm just going with gravity. Down the hill I go. And it's like the funniest thing to me is just seeing people roll down a hill because there's no way to be graceful about it.
Love it. I love it. So Mitch, is We Are the Champions episode 1, is that a watch?
Yes. Yeah. And here's why. It's worth watching because, one, it makes you feel better about yourself, because if you like to think,
and we all need that.
If you like to think, you don't need to feel accomplished to watch that show, because you can watch people literally lose their mind about a roll of cheese and literally risk their lives.
Which I've done.
I don't need to do that.
I gotta say though, every once in a while, I do lose my mind over a roll of cheese. I do see some cheese and my brain goes dead and my heart starts beating really fast, and then all of a sudden there's no cheese left.
Yeah. I mean, I like a roll of cheese too, but I have dignity.
See, we're not exactly the same, you and me.
But yes, I would recommend to all our listeners.
Amazing. So for our next podcast, will you get really high and watch episode 2?
That's the plan. And I did write down the episodes. Actually, I had an idea because it doesn't seem like you need to watch this in order because they're all very different things.
Sure.
So there's 5 more episodes. There's chili eating,
Mm-hmm.
fantasy hairstyling, yo-yo, dog dancing, and I don't actually know if this is the name of. Oh, it's I wrote from jumping, but I think it's frog jumping.
You were high, my friend.
I think it's frog jumping.
Amazing.
What do you think I should watch next?
Do you have the means to get really, really high?
I usually just pop an edible, yes.
Okay. Then I definitely want to see some phantom hairdressing.
Oh, the fantasy hairdressing?
Fantasy hairdressing, yeah, absolutely.
My initial reaction to that is I'm going to be surprised if I make 10 minutes into it.
You're going to have to watch the whole thing.
And I know.
It's in your contract.
The thing that's really sucky about this segment is that I know who I am as a high person.
Yeah.
And my attention span is not great.
I'm just going to really need your diligence on those notes, man.
The fact that I was able to email myself these notes was...
Why did you email yourself the notes?
Because the notepad doesn't work on my phone. Like I can't have a notepad app. Like it just doesn't work.
Because you don't have Android. This guy doesn't have an iPhone. Get with the times, man. What are you? Some sort of Antifa? Anti-phone?
It's the only Antifa that I am is an anti-phone.
Dear God.
All right, we should probably find a way to wrap this up.
Yeah. Is there any last comments or notes from the episode though?
I think it's really cool that as much as I make fun of these people for being absolute lunatics, I think it's really cool that there's a thing that just a sect of people just are. It's like tradition.
They're doing
it's thing. No, that's what we do. That's this is completely normal.
Yeah.
And I think that's weirdly comforting. In a weird way, it's I like to, especially when we think about how fucked up the United States is right now, thinking of people in England just rolling down a hill for cheese. They don't care, not a care in the world.
It's like when you were young and you used to get really embarrassed of your parents, you know? Mm-hmm. And now when you get older, you realize, let's just buy into the goofiness of it, you know? And you start becoming embarrassing with your family.
Right.
But a nation.
Yes.
a nationwide level of embarrassment that you're just yeah, that's just who we are, guys.
We're racist and we love it.
Oh, God. I wasn't talking about our nation.
Don't worry, I'll cut that part out.
No, you could keep that in. Please, I swear to God, if you cut that out, I swear to God, don't test me on this.
Well, so we haven't really figured out how often we'll do this.
Yeah.
The plan is that even when John eventually does go back to New York to try to continue to do this. Yes, he's John. That's John.
For all you guys listening for the first time to this first time podcast.
We would like to do it when he goes back to New York, but obviously post-pandemic, we're going to have different responsibilities and plans in the world, but I would like to think we can try to do this once a week.
Mm-hmm.
At the present moment, maybe depending on our schedules, maybe twice a week. We'll see what's happening.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can even stand to talk to each other for that long.
Let's try it for next week.
So, with that being said, welcome to the something two people echo chamber, whatever we agreed on.
I had another idea.
Oh, yeah.
It could be called the Poddemic.
But then won't it be
Is that in bad taste?
It's very bad taste, because what if we start doing this after the pandemic?
Oh, yeah. 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 Limited series?
I like Hey man, limited series are my jam.
Yeah.
They're my jam because it's like you get all this great story and then you don't have to commit to it past one season.
Oh, I have another one. Here it is. Mitch talks to a wall.
I like that one too.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Mitch talks to a wall and then just has some random guy talk over him.
It's just like you talk to the wall the whole time and I answer, but you don't respond to my part of the conversation because you're not talking to me. You're talking to a wall.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
So eventually, someday, we will figure out what the name of this podcast is. However, we do plan on eventually bringing on guests, picking their brains about topics that we will come up with, and
yes, picking their brains about topics.
So yeah,
we can cut that too.
topics.
Oh no.
We'll have guests. We'll talk to them, feel out their daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
Hang out, have some drinks, partake in whatever they want to partake in within reason. And hopefully you guys will stick with us. And we'll just have a good time together. Because we're all just human beings trying to exist.
Ain't that the truth?
Until then, adios.
Stupid.